And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode 53. Well, quite a nice one today. Shout out to Ben, who sent me a beautiful Aerostar for sale. I will put the name of the Instagram title. I believe it's like Cars of Eastern Washington. Sorry, I don't remember offhand. Posted a beautiful Ford Aerostar out in the Washington area. Now, I couldn't find an actual marketplace. I think it was like a roadside, find. A beautiful Eddie Bauer extended all-wheel drive, leather interior, quite amazing. So thank you to both of those people for one, posting it and then sending it to me. So that got me tinkering around. I started looking around in Washington, and in the previous video we had this beautiful camper cargo van. So I came upon what you're about to see here, and struck me as a very nice Aerostar, and it was topical to sort of the Aerostars I was thinking about, so I thought we would talk about it. So without further ado, here we have a 1991 Ford Aerostar extended minivan, listed for just $1,500 in Gresham, Oregon, which falls in the sort of 500-mile radius of Seattle that I was looking in. Only 69,000 miles. Automatic transmission, exterior color white, fuel type gasoline, only one owner. Okay, seller's description. Motor sounds good. Turns off when put in any gear. That's odd. Was told it is the wiring. A little dangerously vague. Very low mileage. Again, 69,000 miles. I can't resist it. You got to say it, I guess. Reinforced bars inside and comes with a full wheelchair lift. Now again, we talk about the Aerostar's practicality and however many the incredible amount of uses that it's had, from ice cream trucks to passenger vans to work trucks to taxi cabs, police vehicles, fire vehicles, you name it. The Aerostar has done just about everything. And one of those uses is a wheelchair compatible van, so taking people to and from locations. So that's another commendable sort of feather in the Aerostar's cap. If you are good with wiring, this is perfect. Well, even if you are good with wiring, perfect would probably be one that's functioning fully, but yeah, I see what they mean. It's a good deal, something you can put some sweat equity into. If post is still up, then car is available. Clean tittle in hand. This is the first time I've actually, I look at a lot of vehicles on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and this is the first time it's actually come up on one of these videos, and I don't just look at Aerostars, I look at a lot of stuff. But a lot of times people, I don't know if they're just typing real fast, but they'll, instead of title, they'll put two L's and two T's in it, and so it says tittle. So I often see when a lot of people have cars and they have a clean tittle in hand, or maybe they have no tittle, or the tittle is coming in the mail. But it always just gives me a chuckle. So there's a clean tittle in hand. All right, so we've heard about it. Now let's engorge ourselves on this feast of Aerostar beauty. Wow, just a lot to look at here. First thing, some obvious things. Obviously, it is a cargo van, and we can, sort of see that from the back doors there. We'll get into that, but obviously most striking is the bubble top, and I really think a bubble top looks good on an Aerostar. And when you can extend the roof line just a little bit, as we'll see in this interior, and you have these reinforced bars that they've said, and that's kind of cool too, because you could conceivably still put stuff on the roof of this, I guess, or you just you have some structural rigidity. The car's not going to cave in, and it does add quite a bit of height. One thing I loved about my 2012 Ford Transit Connect was it really did have this nice high roof line, and it provided a lot of space. You could almost just stand up in it, similar to a Sprinter, but obviously a lot smaller, a lot cheaper. So I really love the bubble top on the Aerostar. I think it's a great look, and aesthetically I don't think it really takes away from it at all. I think it looks like quite suave, and it really that roof line just extends up and doesn't mess with the styling of it whatsoever. I think it looks quite good. We can see the wheelchair lift there. Now, another great thing about wheelchair lift vehicles, if you do want to sell them, Sometimes you can disassemble the wheelchair lift and sell it, by itself and get some of your money back from the original purchase. I'm not sure what the market is for them now, and it has to maybe it has to fit a specific vehicle, but I would imagine they're somewhat universal. I don't think they made them specific to vehicles, so that's kind of a cool thing. Maybe you can get a little bit of your money back if you don't intend to use it for a wheelchair van. Obviously, with the bubble top, this would make a fantastic cargo van or a camper van. But if you do need or want to use it as a wheelchair lift van, then there you go. I love this shot. I absolutely love this shot. I don't know if it's something about the panorama of it, how it's in this sort of like wide angle, not wide angle, but a wide aspect ratio, like a 16:9 aspect ratio. But it's a really, really beautiful shot of the interior of these, pre-facelift Aerostars. One, you have your wonderful Aerostar badging right there on the dashboard, of course, and the other thing that's noticeable here is the bucket seats. Now, Evans, my buddy Evans' 1986 Aerostar that I sold to him has these blue interior with these beautiful bucket seats, and I think it really just, it's kind of like an old C1 Corvette or something where there's no headrest. It's just these, little tiny bucket seats. It's very emblematic of old sports cars. And I just think it's another kind of fun thing that a lot of these early, especially cargo Aerostars, came with. No headrest, no nothing, really simple. Now maybe you want a headrest, but I just think it adds this like little sporty touch to the Aerostar, and obviously gives you great sort of rear visibility. And I just think this wonderful shot of the Aerostar interior looks really, really nice. See this, pre-facelift interior here. Beautiful Ford steering wheel with a really nice thin steering wheel. I love a thin steering wheel, and this is really, really thin. So, again, with the bucket seats, the thin steering wheel, obviously they were offered the manual transmission, and they are rear-wheel drive. So many little tokens of sort of sports car identifiers in the Aerostar, which I love. I believe it was, I'm going to get this wrong, was it Donut Media or someone just did a video about the Ford Aerostar was the minivan you could drift. I have to watch that video. Maybe I'll even do like a response video to it. But I thought that was really cool, and some newer media from bigger outlets that are starting to shine a little bit of a light on the Aerostar. So that's always a good thing. So get them now while they're still insanely cheap. This one obviously only $1,500, and obviously you're going to need to do some electrical work to it. As we go back to sort of a crop shot of the front here, but I want to go back to the full shot here. Okay, so we'll get into the cargo nature, but some sort of giveaways. A lot of, I think, these cargo or bare bones models, obviously your bumpers aren't even like painted gray. They're just these like unpainted black. And I actually really love the Aerostars where the grills are unpainted too, and your headlight bezels. Everything is just so basic. You see these sort of base model mock-ups of Porsche 911s and higher end cars. And I really, there's something about the look of it with the steel wheels and unpainted bumpers. It's bare bones, but it's almost taken on. It's very janky in a way, because janky, we always say, is like the style of substance. It's what things look like when they are about pure functionality. And when you have something that's pure functionality, purely functional, inevitably it'll take on an aesthetic, because everything has an aesthetic. Dad shoes are really big right now, and there's this normcore going on in like sort of the hipster vintage clothing, and even like sort of couture styles. So you have like sort of these unintentional aesthetics that later get become intentional. They get paid homage to, and it actually becomes quite trendy. So the base model sort of vehicle, the cargo or working contractor grade vehicle, has its own aesthetic that's actually sort of gotten a fan base now. And I really like just the black grille with the black bumpers, black headlight bezels, steel wheels with your dog dish hubcaps, which I've actually put on my 93 Aerostar, and I've painted them, but I think that looks really, really good. I love these little dog dish hubcaps. Now these are interesting too, because a lot of these hubcaps, the little center decal on there, which is funny, it's just like an oval with a strike through the middle, which I actually do believe is like, I think even on the Ford GT, they use a similar aesthetic here, but it doesn't say Ford or anything on it. And these ones are black, and a lot of them, I wouldn't say like 95% of them are red in the middle, but these are actually the black ones, which I think look quite cool. And it's just a more neutral color, so it doesn't necessarily, it goes with anything. And obviously here being black, it goes with your bumper, your grille, your tires, all the wonderful black plastic accents on the Aerostar, your cowl, windshield wipers, wing mirrors, all your molding and everything like that. is all black. So the white on black Aerostar is just a really, really iconic look. And I really, really like the look of this one. We talked about cargo vans in the last video a little bit. And now, what I really want to talk about with this video, and maybe we should focus in on the cargo doors, but I'll mention really quickly that this does have some windows cut out in it. Now, this is funny because a lot of times, and I think we'll see on the other side of the van, maybe we won't see the other side of it, but a lot of times a lot of these cargo vans it was sort of like a hybrid between just a solid panel of metal, but a lot of times they would cut one window into there, I guess just for visibility or whatever. But this one actually has two cut into it, which is very interesting. I have a feeling that's kind of like the last camper van. This one's been like, custom built out with this whole bubble and the wheelchair lift. So it looks like they put a little other window in here just to, make it more like a passenger van. It probably already had the smaller one put in. So instead of taking everything out and putting a full set of windows from a passenger van, they just put this extra little window in there. But unlike most passenger Aerostars, you have like a gap here, almost like a C-pillar behind your two, or between your two little smaller windows. So that's interesting. I'd be willing to guess on the other side there's a single window here, although maybe they did the full treatment and it's got two windows on the other side as well. I digress. But going back to these beautiful, beautiful barn doors. Now look at this bubble top, how it's not just slapped on the top. They even, did a lot of work here, a lot of fabrication to actually incorporate the bubble top into the rear doors, which I'm guessing had to be there because, that's how you get the wheelchair lift in, unless it comes in on the side. Maybe it comes in on the side. Yeah, it comes in on, oh no, maybe it looks like it comes in through the back. A lot of these came in through the side. This one looks like it comes in through the back. And, that's very interesting. But nonetheless, beautiful, custom fabrication here to get these doors to, run into the actual bubble top. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that's not an easy task to do that. So if you were to buy this, whether it's wheelchair lift or not, that's kind of cool because to get that extra height in your Aerostar is really, really nice. And you do have the barn doors. And I absolutely love the barn doors. I love the placement of the Aerostar badging on the barn doors. That's unique to the cargo vans. Although in the passenger vans and later models, the Aerostar logo would sort of get moved back into a similar location, whereas previously it was on your front panel right here on the really early ones. I believe maybe only 86 to 88, but perhaps later than that as well, but definitely gone by 92. So we go back again, the Ford logo also placed just above your license plate holder. I love the side-mounted license plate holder. I love the asymmetry of this design, and I love your door handle also on the side here with your little locking mechanism. So, what I wanted to talk about, what this sort of brought up in my mind is I've been thinking about, and I've talked about it many times here, and I keep saying I'll do the video. I have to do the video, but I want Ford to come out with an electric Aerostar. I think it would be really good for a lot of reasons. One, they have the E-Transit right now, but it's a lot bigger. It's a lot more expensive. Your range is not that great. So I think the market still remains for like a smaller van, but we have yet to see the first, passenger electric minivan. I'm sure it's coming eventually, but the crossovers and the SUVs and even like Kia's EV6 is like a hatchbacky type thing and really good looking, by the way. But we need the world's first sort of electric minivan, and I think the Aerostar is really ripe for I don't want to say a redo, but I think the nature of what the Aerostar is, this like uber capable, uber eclectic, multi-use van where it could be a passenger or a cargo van, would be really desirable in this car market because people are van lifing. Contractors need vans. We need passenger minivans. All these things are still applicable. And I also think like Volkswagen coming out with their sort of microbus, their EV microbus, I think the retro craze never really goes away. And I think the EVs have brought a real opportunity for car makers to experiment with design. It's like a clean sheet of paper, do things differently. And that's sort of contradictory to making retro vehicles. However, I think both of those things kind of like intertwine seamlessly, where it's all new, but you're hearkening back to, an older vehicle. And I think the 80s and 90s with Radwood getting big, and a lot of people, sort of my age that now have a little bit of income to spend on a vehicle, but they have these strong attachments to vehicles of their youth. I think the Aerostar would be really a perfect candidate to get sort of a retroization. And then you'd have that component, but you'd also have the component of it being this super versatile vehicle that could sell well in many different markets. So for all those reasons, I think Ford should do an electric Aerostar. And I'm really, and this is the one part where I'm conflicted about, I like that the Aerostar was this singular thing. You know, it only existed once. There was only one generation. Yes, they had an interior facelift, but the styling and the profile of the Aerostar is very singular to itself. And the namesake was never used. Again, you know, it changed to the Windstar after that, and then the Freestar after that. But if ever there were to be another Aerostar introduced, I think making it an EV would really sort of differentiate those two things. You know, it would be a completely separate thing, and you wouldn't be measuring it against the previous Aerostar so much, other than maybe in the styling department. But I don't think you'd have to do much. You know, like I love the Ford Thunderbird, the last generation Ford Thunderbird. That was totally a retro job, but I think they did such a nice job of, it's clearly a Thunderbird. It looks like a 50s Thunderbird, but they just like kind of took this minimalist approach, you know, and it doesn't look overdone. It doesn't look gaudy. It's still, I mean, it's aged really, really well, but they brought it into the modern era. But that was still with a, you know, combustion engine V8. I think now if you make it an EV, it stands alone as its own thing, and yet you could make it look almost identical to the Aerostar, but just sort of, you know, not smooth out some of the lines, but, you know, just technology's come a long way, and I think you could, you know, even these headlights went through a major change in the later examples where they became like, you know, not a glass bulb in here, but they became like, what do you call it? Like a flat mirror that didn't have a indentation in here. So even that changed. So you could, you know, just sort of upgrade a little of the front end, but keep all your design angles and proportions and styling cues the same. Maybe you make the door handles a little bit more modern, the mirrors a little bit more modern. You put a nice, like, sort of retro steel wheel on there. It's cheap to produce. You know, steel wheels like the Ford Maverick, a couple other of these newer vehicles come with a steel wheel option. I think it looks really, really good on some of these modern vehicles, and it just saves the company a little bit of money. So I think you could do something with the cowl and make the windshield wipers a little bit fancy or something like that, but make it look like, you know, unmistakably Aerostar. Keep all the sort of wonderful contrast of forward and backward movement within the design. And I think that it should be offered with barn doors, perhaps maybe only exclusively. I love the Ford Excursion as well. I've talked about perhaps buying a Ford Excursion one day. There's a video on that you could watch. I bought a Prius instead. But another thing I love about cars with barn doors is a lot of them anyways featured a design component where you could lift just the rear glass or the barn doors. I don't know how exactly you do that with here. You'd have to like split it up, but I think that would be a good sort of compromise between a liftgate and the barn doors themselves. But I really, really do love barn doors. I can't think of a scenario in which the barn doors are really a disadvantage compared to a liftgate, because if you have a roof rack, the barn doors are preferable because you don't have that liftgate getting in the way of putting a ladder on top there or cargo, whatever it may be. And if you can still lift just the glass and keep the doors closed, then you still get that sort of liftgate option in there. But barn doors are so great because, you know, depending on how wide they open, at least, you know, 45 degrees, sometimes like all the way open, like 90 degrees, and even fold back inwards toward the body of the vehicle. So you have just this great berth. It's really easy to get things in and out of there. So I can't really think of any disadvantages of barn doors. And I think it would be a nice feature, even on a passenger Aerostar, as we saw in that camper van, to put on these, again, you know, drinking game barn doors. So that's what got me thinking about the cargo vans and the barn doors, and what if you made an EV Aerostar, but instead of the liftgate, you offered it only with barn doors? I think that would be kind of cool. So I'm rambling a bit here, but perhaps, you know, my point is taken. And, you know, maybe you agree or disagree. Maybe you like the liftgate. I like the liftgate. You know, I think it's cool. But, you know, struts will also go on that, whereas the barn doors, you just have sort of metal hinges. So there's like one less thing to replace and do maintenance to. So I just really love a cargo Aerostar, and a white cargo Aerostar with this sort of contractor package of just, you know, unpainted bumpers and grills. Of course, this is the very rare 89 through 91 only 3-spoke grill with Ford logo mounted centrally. I really, really like that. Later it went up top here and it got some little like molding on the side. Previously it was the 5-spoke grill with the Ford logo in the middle, as we've talked about many times if you watched this program before. So just a really, really good looking Aerostar, and I love just a plain white contractor cargo Aerostar. A really great sort of segment of the Aerostar milieu, if you will. So we'll go to this shot one more time, just see that beautiful, dashboard and these beautiful bucket seats. The interior looks to be in pretty good condition. These lovely vinyl seats. I do love a vinyl seat. I don't know why. Not quite leather, not quite fabric. And of course, we'll say it one more time, barn doors. So there you have it. Just a really great Aerostar. Maybe I'll look for some more cargo versions out there. We'll never know where the path is going to lead us here on Year of the Aerostar, but certainly happy we stumbled upon this one today, a 1991 for just $1,500. And obviously it will need a little bit of work, but boy, I think really just a nice looking Aerostar and quite unique. And again, to get that bubble top put on there and even, extend back to the doors, the barn doors, if you wanted to do this from scratch, you're looking at a pretty penny. So I think for the low price, fix whatever electronic issues are going on. Even if you have to replace a transmission, you're still getting sort of a one-of-a-kind Aerostar here, and certainly very, very practical and super low miles. So, there's that as well. So, boy, really, really nice. Really, really exquisite Aerostar here. There you have it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, here on Janky AF, this is Year of the Aerostar, episode number 53. Thanks to everybody who's watching. I got a bunch of comments I have to respond to. Sorry I haven't responded to your comment. Lovely people sending me all sorts of stuff on Instagram. Crease Mert, I have to get back to you. Sent me a great blue Aerostar and just posted a picture of his Aerostar with 187,000 miles on it. That's fantastic. He sent me another one. Maybe I'll take a look, see if I can find it on Facebook and do a little proper send up for that one. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe, we always appreciate that. I always make my little plug at the end of these videos here, sometimes anyways. We really, really appreciate it. We're marching toward that 500 number, which was halfway towards monetization. Not that it's really about that, but every little one is sort of really, really appreciated, and helps motivate me. Not that, if we're truth be told, I don't really need much motivation to talk about Ford Aerostars, but we do really, really appreciate it. And I love the comments. I try to respond to every one of them. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching, as always, here on Janky AF. And until next time, Janky do Thanky.